Welcome to AI Trend Talk.
I'm Isaac.
And I'm Alice. Today we're talking about trending topics in Taiwan. Let's get started.
Yes, let's jump in. We are taking a deep dive into a really interesting stack of sources today.
We really are.
And, well, just to give everyone a quick hint of where we're going, we're going to look at how a 280-year-old traditional ghost parade and a microscopic AI computer chip are actually shaping the exact same landscape in Taiwan right now.
I just love that connection. It's so
Yeah.
fascinating because when I looked at our sources, covering personal stories and the weather and technology and even local politics, a common theme really stood out to me.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Well, every single topic is really about how people navigate pressure.
Mhm.
Like sometimes it's the emotional pressure of grief, or maybe it's the physical pressure of a powerful storm, or even, intense pressure of modern politics.
That is a really wonderful way to connect all these ideas.
Yeah.
So let's jump right into our first story, which is exactly about that. It's about navigating deeply personal emotional pressure.
Right.
This is a very touching story about Chen Zhao-wei. He is a well-known Taiwanese singer and television host. Our listeners might actually recognize him because he recently hosted a major national award red carpet.
Oh, that's right. It was the 37th Golden Melody Awards for Traditional Arts, right?
Exactly. And, hosting a national event like that, it's a massive achievement. It takes years of hard work to reach that level.
It really does.
But the reason he is trending right now is actually because of a very sad personal memory he just shared. He takes us back to the year 2012.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he opened up about his second younger brother, who sadly passed away when he was only 24 years old.
Oh, wow. 24 is so incredibly young. That must have been just heartbreaking for his family.
It was.
Did the sources mention what caused his passing at such a young age?
They did. The reports state that his body simply gave out because of, extreme exhaustion and stress from his job.
Oh, that's terrible. Wait, before we go on, let's make sure our listeners know a very important term related to this situation.
Good idea.
The word is overwork. It means the act of working too much or too hard. Example, her illness was caused by overwork, so she decided to take a long vacation.
That is the perfect word to describe what happened, unfortunately. And after this tragedy, the family had to make some very difficult choices.
Right.
The younger brother had opened a beverage shop in their hometown of Little Lukui. For our listeners who do not know, Little Lukui is this beautiful, small coral island off the coast of southern Taiwan.
Oh, I have actually visited that island. It is famous for its sea turtles and warm weather. It's beautiful. So, what happened to this beverage shop after the brother passed away?
Well, in Taiwanese culture, a family business is often much more than just a way to make money. It is really a piece of the family's heart.
Right, it's personal.
Exactly. So the mother simply could not let the shop go. It felt like she would be letting go of her son. Because of this, Chen Zhao-wei made a massive life change.
Oh, what did he do?
He put his own dreams on hold, returned to the small island, and took over the beverage shop himself.
I am trying to imagine what that must feel like. I mean, you are grieving the sudden loss of your younger brother, and every single day you have to stand behind the counter of his shop, making drinks.
Yeah.
That environment must carry so much emotional weight. He mentioned in the sources that this was a very low point in his life.
It was a time of intense struggle for him, and running a small shop is not always enough to survive financially.
No, probably not.
So to make a living, he had to take on several other jobs at the exact same time. He actually worked as an English teacher at 3 different locations.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, one was at a local military base, and another was at a junior high school.
So he was teaching English at 3 different places while also trying to keep his late brother's business alive. That is just an immense amount of pressure to carry.
It really is.
But reading through the rest of the source material, it seems he was eventually able to find his way out of that dark period.
He certainly did. Over the years, he slowly rebuilt his career in entertainment. And today, not only is he hosting major red carpet events, but he has also become the CEO and the official Taiwan agent for a sports pickleball brand.
Oh, pickleball. That is the sport that mixes tennis and ping pong, right?
Yeah.
It is becoming incredibly popular right now.
Yes, it is very popular and highly energetic. Going from that dark period to becoming a CEO and a national host is quite a journey.
It really is. Looking at how he survived that time, it reminds me of the thought I had. It's kind of like taking over that shop was like carrying a heavy anchor during a storm.
Oh, that's an interesting analogy. Tell me more about that.
Well, carrying a heavy iron anchor seems like a burden, right? It weighs
Yeah.
a ship down. Taking over that beverage shop and working those extra teaching jobs felt like a heavy weight for Chen.
Mm-hmm.
But during a violent emotional storm, that heavy anchor is actually the only thing keeping you grounded. It stops the waves of grief from completely washing you away. The heavy responsibility gave him a daily routine and a purpose until the storm finally passed.
That helps me understand his situation so much better. The duty to his family kept him anchored.
Exactly. And, shifting from the metaphorical storms of life, we are now looking at the very real physical storms that impact daily life in Taiwan.
Yes, actual weather storms.
Right. Navigating the pressure of nature is a constant reality here.
It really is. In Taiwan, tracking the weather is almost a national hobby. Right now, our sources show that everyone is closely watching Typhoon Etau.
Oh, I've heard about that one.
Yeah, this is officially the 21st typhoon of the year, and it recently formed over the vast Pacific Ocean.
People here are always checking their phone apps and the news to see where these storms are heading. It really changes how you plan your entire week.
It does. And actually, let me pause here to introduce our next term because it relates perfectly to why people watch the news so closely.
Oh, sure.
The word is impact. It means a powerful effect that something has on a situation or person. Example: the strong storm did not have a big impact on our travel plans.
That is a very useful word.
Mm.
So, looking at the data for Typhoon Etau, what kind of impact are we expecting? Do we need to prepare our homes?
Well, the good news is that we do not need to worry about a direct hit this time. According to the Japan Meteorological Agency, the storm was upgraded to a typhoon, but its path is moving straight north.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it is going to miss the island of Taiwan completely.
That is a relief. However, the sources also mention another weather system that we still need to pay attention to.
Yes, we are also looking at Typhoon Etau. Even though the center of that storm is not hitting Taiwan directly, the outer edges of the storm system are close enough to affect us.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it is bringing sudden rain showers and strong sea warnings to certain parts of the island.
It makes me wonder about the psychology behind all of this weather tracking.
What do you mean?
Well, we spend so much energy worrying about storms that are hundreds of miles away.
Yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if it's too much worry or if it's just always better to be perfectly prepared.
I think it comes down to our desire to manage the unpredictable. I mean, nature is wild and chaotic. A typhoon brings massive physical pressure like heavy rains, flooding, strong winds.
Yeah, that's true.
By tracking the storm, preparing sandbags, and checking our local water drains, we kind of take back a small sense of control.
I see what you mean. We cannot stop the storm, but we can control our preparation for it. We build systems to handle the pressure.
Exactly.
And speaking of building complex systems to handle intense pressure, this leads us directly into our next topic. We are moving from the chaotic pressure of nature to the absolute precise pressure of the global technology industry.
This is a really fascinating transition. We're looking at a major piece of tech and financial news regarding a Taiwanese company called Largan Precision. They are one of the world's leading makers of optical lenses, the tiny glass parts inside computer and phone cameras. Recently, their stock price hit a limit up.
Oh, for our English learners who might not follow financial news, a limit up just means that the stock price went up by the maximum amount legally allowed in a single trading day.
Right.
It shows that investors are extremely confident and really eager to buy.
Yes, the demand was incredibly high. The stock actually reached a historic record of 6,915 new Taiwan dollars per share. That is a staggering number for a single share.
That is massive. What is driving so much excitement around this specific company right now?
Well, according to the sources, there are two main factors. The first one is fairly simple. Apple is holding its big autumn launch event very soon.
Yes.
Everyone expects them to announce the newest iPhones. Largan makes the high-quality camera lenses for those phones, so their business always booms around this time of year.
Okay, that makes complete sense. People love taking clear photos, and they upgrade their phones to get better cameras. But the sources mention a second, more complex reason for this stock increase.
Yes, the second reason is their advanced development in something called silicon photonics and a process called co-packaged optics, or CPO for short.
Hold on just a second. Silicon photonics, co-packaged optics. I have to admit, I am completely lost here.
It is a bit confusing.
It sounds like really complicated engineering jargon. Can you break down what that actually means for us?
I can try to simplify it. So the entire world is rushing to build artificial intelligence systems right now, right?
Right.
AI has to read and process enormous amounts of information in a fraction of a second. Traditional computer chips usually send this information back and forth using tiny copper wires.
Okay, copper wires, like the cables we use to charge our electronics.
Exactly like that. But when AI processes data that fast, the copper wires struggle to handle the pressure. They get very hot, and they actually slow down the information.
Oh, I see.
This is where silicon photonics comes in. Instead of using copper wires, this technology uses light. It sends data through tiny glass optical fibers.
Sending information using light instead of electricity. That sounds incredibly fast. But where does the co-packaged optics part fit in?
Well, co-packaged simply means putting things tightly together in one single package. Instead of having the optical fiber far away from the computer chip, CPO technology packages the tiny optical lens right next to the brain of the computer.
You know, I actually like to think about this using a transportation analogy.
Oh, let's hear it.
Imagine that traditional copper wires are like an old, bumpy dirt road.
Okay, I am picturing a dirt road. Cars can only drive so fast on dirt before they start bouncing around or the engine gets too hot.
Right. Now imagine replacing that dirt road with a perfectly smooth, high-speed highway made of glass. The data, which we can imagine as the cars, can suddenly travel incredibly fast without crashing.
That's a great way to picture it.
But here's the catch. To get the cars from the local street onto that super fast highway without slowing down, you need the entry ramps to align perfectly.
Right, or they'll crash.
Exactly. If the ramp is off by even a millimeter, it's a disaster. Largan Precision builds those perfect microscopic entry ramps. That is co-packaged optics.
That makes the concept so clear. AI desperately needs that high-speed highway to function, and this Taiwanese company is building the exact, precise connections to make it happen. The technology sector really thrives on perfect alignment. Every single piece must agree and align exactly for the system to work.
It does. But as we move to our next source in this deep dive, we see a completely different environment.
Oh.
Yeah, while technology requires absolute alignment, the world of politics often involves breaking away from alignment in order to forge your own path and handle pressure.
That is a really great observation, and it brings us to the political section of our sources today. We are looking at Chiu Chien-fu.
Right, he's the former mayor of Changhua City.
Yes, and he recently made headlines because he officially picked up the registration forms to run for the position of Changhua County Mayor.
Let me introduce our final vocabulary word for today because it explains his political strategy perfectly.
Go ahead.
The word is independent. It means free and not controlled by other people, groups, or political parties. Example, he decided to leave his political party and run as an independent candidate.
Excellent. So Chien-fu has decided to step away from his party and run as an independent.
So why did this become such a big national news story?
Well, it became national news because he claimed that high-ranking officials from the presidential office, as well as national advisors, personally called him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, according to the reports, they urged him to think twice about his campaign. They were applying political pressure on him to withdraw from the race.
Just a quick reminder to our listeners, we are remaining completely impartial here. We are not taking any sides or endorsing any political viewpoints today. We are simply analyzing the facts and the mechanics of the news reported in our sources.
Yes, absolutely. And looking strictly at the mechanics, it is interesting to ask why an independent candidate causes so much worry for a large political party.
I was just wondering the same thing. Why would high-ranking officials care so much about one local candidate?
Because a political party's strength relies entirely on unity. Just like the parts in a computer chip, they need everyone aligned on the same team.
Ah, I see the connection.
If a popular local figure like Chiu breaks away and runs independently, he might pull voters away from the party's official candidate. It splits the vote, which could allow a rival party to win.
I see. So his decision to run independently actually threatens the structure of the party ecosystem.
Yes. But despite facing all of this political pressure from high-ranking officials, Chiu declared publicly that his decision remains completely unchanged. He is pushing forward with his campaign.
It really highlights the tension between loyalty to a large group and a person's individual goals. I mean, choosing to stand alone against a powerful organization requires a lot of resolve. It creates a massive amount of local energy and discussion.
It definitely generates a lot of local energy. And interestingly, this kind of local political energy flows very naturally into our final story today.
It really does.
We're looking at a place where modern political pressure meets a deeply historical tradition.
This last story is so fascinating. It takes us to the city of Hsinchu. Recently, Hsinchu held its annual traditional Zongguan Ghost Festival parade.
Right?
This is an incredibly historic event that has been happening for 280 years.
For our listeners who might be unfamiliar with Taiwanese culture, the seventh lunar month is known as Ghost Month. It is believed that spirits visit the living realm during this time.
Okay.
The purpose of this traditional temple parade is to patrol the local area and provide relief to lonely spirits.
How exactly does a parade provide relief to spirits?
Well, the community sets out large offerings of food, they play traditional music, and they march through the streets. It is a way to show compassion and respect for those who have passed away, ensuring the spirits are fed and remembered.
Oh, that's beautiful.
It is. It's a very colorful, loud, and deeply spiritual community event.
So, if this parade has been happening the exact same way for nearly 3 centuries, why did it suddenly become a top trending news topic online this week?
It trended purely because of who decided to show up this year. President Lai Ching-te and Hsinchu Mayor Cao Hung-en attended the religious ceremony together.
Oh, wow. Having the president attend a local parade is a big deal.
It is historic. In fact, our sources note this was the very first time a sitting president has ever joined this specific parade in Hsinchu.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. And while he was there, President Lai publicly spoke to the large crowd. He shared his hope that the city would elect a clean and honest mayor in the upcoming elections.
I have an observation here, and I want to hear your thoughts on this.
Sure.
Again, looking at this neutrally, it is just fascinating how a deeply spiritual, ancient tradition can so easily dingle as a stage for modern political messaging.
I agree completely. It is a really striking contrast. People gather on the streets for religious and cultural reason to honor spirits and watch traditional temple performances.
Right.
But because the event draws thousands of people into one place, it naturally becomes the perfect stage for politicians who want to be seen and heard by the public.
It is a perfect example of how the past and the present are constantly interacting in Taiwan. You have ancient temple culture and modern election politics walking down the exact same street on the exact same day.
It really paints a complete picture of the society. If we zoom out and look at everything we've discussed in this deep dive, it's incredible to see how people handle the various pressures of life here.
It really is.
We saw a man rebuilding his life after the devastating emotional pressure of losing his brother. We saw the entire island preparing for the intense physical pressure of powerful typhoons over the ocean.
Right, and we explored the microscopic high-speed pressure of AI computer chips.
Exactly. And finally, we saw modern political pressure playing out in the middle of a centuries-old ghost parade.
The contrast is just amazing.
Taiwan truly is a place where very old, slow traditions and the absolute cutting-edge, high-speed future lie right next door to each other. And I want to leave our listeners with this thought to mull over.
Please do.
We live in a modern world that asks us to move at the speed of an AI fiber optic highway. But our human bodies and minds still need the slow, steady anchor of our traditions and our well-being. How do these contrasting forces shape the way you live your daily life?
That is a beautiful and challenging question. We all have to find a way to navigate those different pressures without breaking. Here is your comment challenge for today. How do you balance working hard with resting and keeping your life healthy?
We would love to hear your answers to that question. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into today's sources.
Yes, thank you for learning with us today. See you next time.